Hey everybody, it's Ellie, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make these cute little fondant roses. Now before we get started, we have to practice good sanitary for the kitchen. It's very, very important when you are making food to make sure that you don't cross-contaminate and that you keep good hygiene. So the first thing to do, the most important thing to do, would be wash your hands. I've already done that. And I've also taken off my ring because I don't want it to get stained or anything. So then, it's time to put my hair up. Now, it can be a ponytail or a bun, just as long as it's out of your face, which is also helpful for concentration. And then if you have anything sticking out, like your bangs or something, you can just clip it back with bobby pin. And yeah. And then the last thing that is helpful is to wear an apron. And if you don't have an apron, that's okay too. All you have to do is wear a t-shirt. You don't mind getting dirty, and I recommend doing this anyway because of these areas, because I've yet to see an apron that covers this area well enough, because things can get crazy. So the only things you're really going to need for this tutorial are a little bit of white fondant or colored fondant, depending upon whether you want color or not. You can have pre-colored it. I'm going to explain how to color it later. And so for coloring, if you're going to do that yourself, you're going to need gel food coloring, which goes best when you're mixing it in, or powdered food coloring, which is what I'm going to be using, and I'll explain that later. And if you want to add some sparkle, you should use like the Wilton color mist, or if you have like the pixie dust or like the disco dust, you can use that too, and a little paintbrush that's clean. Some other helpful things are toothpicks and cornstarch. The cornstarch can be for your surface, which is what I'm about to explain. You don't want the fondant to stick to the whatever you're working on, your table, your board, like me, whatever. So cornstarch helps it to not stick, but I think it's very helpful to have wax paper to lay down on your surface, because then you don't have to constantly add the cornstarch. The cornstarch is only for your hands. Or if you'd rather use powdered sugar, that's cool too. I think that the fondant is sweet enough without adding that, so that's why I use cornstarch, because it doesn't add any extra flavor. And that is all, I believe. So the first thing we're going to do is, once we've practiced all our sanitariness, we're going to make sure we've got our cornstarch and our toothpicks within reach, and we're going to grab a ball of fondant. And it doesn't really matter how big it is right at this stage. It should probably be, I would say this here, it would be, once it's flattened out into its circle, the diameter is about 6 or 7 inches, so about that size is perfect. But you're just going to break it down anyway. This is too big, so you take about half of that, which would be like, we'll say a 3-centimeter circle, and then you even break that in half, and that in half, and then that in half. So it's not very big at all. So then we're going to get some cornstarch on our hands. It's helpful if you just make a little mound of it towards the corner of your surface and just like dip your hands in it and rub it around every so often, just so that you are continually making sure that it's not stuck to your hand. And you're going to use this little ball, and what you're going to do is you're going to make it into a ball on your hand. And to me, this is still even too big. You can work from the stage. It'll just get heavier faster than other ones would. But what you're going to do is you're going to roll it, then you're going to squash it down with your thumb or whatever finger you want to work with, and then you are going to make it pretty thin, relatively thin, But then you're going to pick one of your edges. So I picked this top one right here, and you're going to push that one down even more so that edge is thinner than the rest. And this creates like a true petal shape. And they don't have to be perfect circles. It still looks pretty if they are. If they're not, that's even better because petals on a flower aren't exact circles. Now I'm going to be doing like zooming in as well on this. Or not zooming in, I'll show you the process again in a closer frame, I guess. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to start rolling it on its inside of itself and trying to angle upward as I do that. And when I do, I'm going to need a toothpick because it creased and I don't want that. And when I do, it'll make this beautiful spiral that is the inside of my flower. So then after that, we're going to take probably one of the halves of the other half of the ball we made of the middle one. We're going to do the same thing. You're just going to squash it down just like this, and then pick one of your sides and squash down even more on that side to make it thinner. And then right here where we've made this overlap, we are going to overlap the crease there with this second petal and kind of fluff it out just so that it looks like it's an opening rose, like it's opening up. And that's where you get this. So I'm going to set that aside for now, and I'm going to do the process again so you can see it closer, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to do the process again. So get another little ball of fondant. You're going to make it into a ball in your hand, squash it down, not sticking. So I'm going to get a little bit of this, just rub it on my fingers along with on the fondant itself so that it makes it less sticky as well. And then we're going to squash it until it's about the size we want, and that's just up to how big you want it. And then we're going to pick this side and make it thinner. And now that this side is thinner, we're going to pick up the rose beginning that we just made, and we're going to overlap this as well and fluff that out. Now on the sides here, sometimes it doesn't want to stick, especially when you've put the cornstarch on. So you're just going to like kind of pull and drag these so that they meet each other and so that they kind of morph in with the other part that you've already done, and that's perfect. So then we're going to take this smaller ball that we already had, rip it in half, and set the other ball aside. We're going to make another petal. And like I said, it doesn't need to be a perfect circle. It's better if it's not. It's better if it's thinner on one part of it and sticking out and wavy. And even sometimes if it's got a little crease in it, like I'll show you. So then we overlap one of the edges as we want and morph the sides to the other one. It's the best word I can find right now. And then we're going to pull this down. And like I said, creases are good, so we just kind of like push that in with a toothpick, and then it looks more like a rose. So then you continue to build on it, petal by petal, piece by piece, and I'll be back with what I've got. Okay everybody, I added a few more petals, and I like the way this is looking so far. And I think that I'm ready to do the next step with this one. So I know that everybody doesn't have toothpicks, and that's okay because you don't even need a toothpick if you really don't have any on hand. It's just easier that way. So what you're going to do if you do have a toothpick is you are going to pinch this bottom part like so, and be very careful because as you do that the petals might adjust to how they want, and you don't want to push them. So you're just going to pull it out like this, and you're going to stick your toothpick in. You're going to go all the way up And be careful not to actually get it up and pierce it through the top. And that is all you have to do for that. And you kind of want to pinch it around the toothpick too so it won't come out as it's drying. So if you do have a toothpick, this is the way to go. Okay, so if you do not have a toothpick to do this with, I'm just going to take mine off of this toothpick so I can show you, because I've only made one so far. You are going to take some sort of knife. I've just got a butter knife, and again, you have to be very careful. You're going to cut a straight edge off of the bottom. You're just going to cut all of these, all of the buildup at the bottom, and you can make it as short or as long as you want, but do make it flat. And you want to be careful again while you're cutting it, because you don't want the petals to adjust very much. And if they do, just fan them out again with your hand, because there's not really much else you can do to fix that. And I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. I wouldn't suggest using a butter knife for this, as they do not cut as well as a regular knife would. And in fact, I'm going to get a regular knife because that one is not doing the job for me. So if you are like me and you're working with a very sharp knife, do remember to be careful not to cut yourself. And then just set it down on a flat surface. Fix it up however you wanted it in the first place, and then just make sure that you stay safe while you're doing so. Now the only thing I have left to do is to color this little thing, and I decided that rather than coloring it with a gel, I would color it with a powder. And what I mean by powder is this is petal dust, and I want to make this one a pretty pink one since I already have yellow and purple. And out of another kit that I have, I'm going to take a paintbrush that I have that is used solely for my baking, and I am going to take that dust. So this is how you would do it. It depends on how you want it, because this yellow one was colored entirely with petal dust, yellow petal dust. But that's why the sides are still pretty white, because once I was intending to cut it, but now it's more of an example for you guys. But what I'm going to do this time is very different from what I did that time. I'm going to just take what's around the edge first, and then like barely dip into it. And I'm going to take that onto the rose, and I'm only going to paint the tops of the petals to give like a two-toned effect to it, rather than making the whole thing this pink color that I have. And that way it will come out a little different looking, pretty unique and interesting. And the best thing about this, the coloring process, is that you can get it in all the crevices, and it's okay, because if you do have a toothpick, you can just get it right back out. And now, because I do have this toothpick and I got a little more than I wanted right here, I'm just going to rub back and forth. Or you can also, if you're not feeling like you want to spend forever on that, you can take a clean paintbrush and just dab it all off almost. I'm going to add a little more color to these other sides, because I do like how it's turning out with just barely any white beneath it. And that is how I did that. Okay, so now that I've got my paper towel down, I'm going to take the Wilton Color Mist in Silver, and from about 6 inches away, of course I'm going to shake it first to help it get moving in there, and then I'm going to be about 6 inches away from the flower itself, and I'm just going to spritz lightly. And I did it a little more than I was intending to, So we're just going to wait for that to dry for a moment and take a little bit more color, or rather, we're going to take this color, just dab our brush in it a little, drip off the excess, and now I'm going to blow what color is on this brush onto the flower itself. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but that added a lot more color to it. And I really like the way it turned out because I feel like it's almost like a silky pink now, especially now that it's glittery. And so that is how it turned out. Thank you for watching this video with me. I hope you really enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed making it. And I mean, this turned out so good. I really like the way it looks because you can kind of see the pink hinting out while there's silver. So I don't know, it looks really satiny. I hope that made it easier for you because it was something that I learned and I'm like, wow, this is like for beginner people, you know, people that are decorating but are just beginners at baking. It's just a really easy thing that you would think, you know, someone's going to look at it when you make it and go, wow, how did they even do that? That must have taken a long time. And they'll be like, no, it took like 5 minutes a piece, but they don't have to know that. You could act like it took you hours and hours on end and that you did it just for their cupcake. That's the beauty of it. Anyway, please like this video if you liked it and if you want to see more baking tutorials, and subscribe to my channel because I would really enjoy that, and there are going to be a lot more things to come. So stay elegant, everybody. Thank Ow! Freaking globe!